Welcome back. Now, KAP's polymers business, Safripol, provided no cushioning for the group during the interim period, seeing a 67% plunge in the unit's operating profit weighed on the company's overall operational performance. Headline earnings per share also fell by 36%, and in line with historic practice, no interim dividend has been declared. The company CEO, Gary Chaplin, joins us with greater perspective on KAP's half year that was. Gary, a pleasure. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Nolutando. Thanks for having me on your show.
Thank you so much for chatting to us, Gary. Let's talk about the period in review here. We are seeing lower revenues as well as earnings, but surprisingly, cash generated from operations increased by more than 100%. So it does tell me there's a bit of a story there.
Yes, no, it was a challenging period for us as with many other companies, but we had a lot of focus on the balance sheet. So a lot of focus on working capital. Working capital down by close to 1 billion, 914 million actually, which improved our cash generation and allowed us to reduce debt. So that was an important focus area for us, and yeah, focus paid off. So we're quite pleased.
Talking about that, then how is the balance sheet faring right now, and how much have you managed to reduce that debt pile by?
Yeah, so Nolutando, we have got some large projects on the go. So we've actually got about 2.5 billion rand in capital work in progress on our balance sheet. As a result of that, our debt levels are a little bit elevated, higher than we would like. So fortunately, all of those projects actually come to conclusion during the next 6 months, so our H2. And will be commissioned and then become income generating and cash generating from F25. So although debt levels elevated at this stage, we see those that those debt levels coming down with the de-gearing from 25 over the next couple of years.
I'm also keen to delve a little bit deeper into the various businesses there, from Restonic to Feltex, Safripol, there where we are seeing some green shoots, Gary, and where also we might be seeing some challenges.
Nolutando, we actually had 3 very strong performances from PG Bison, from Feltex, and from Restonic. So all 3 businesses performed well in their markets, generally growing market share or exporting excess capacity. So running all of those businesses at full capacity and producing actually very good results. Unitrons, a little bit of a slower recovery than we would have liked. We've embarked on a major restructuring of that business. So benefits of the restructuring starting to show in the balance sheet, but not yet coming through the income statement, which we expect to see in the second half. And then unfortunately, all of that good work really overshadowed by a very weak performance in Safripol due to global polymer margins, which are in a cyclical low period, and really weighing on Safripol and also on KAP's results.
I want to touch a little bit on Unitrons. There are rumours, I guess we can call them rumours at this point, Gary, of a possible sale there. We know the company's in a restructure. Keen to get more on that one.
Sure. As a listed company, we receive interest in various of our assets over time, and we've received interest in Unitrons. It's a very well-known brand, obviously, and we've explored that in a structured manner. But at this stage, there's no need for an announcement, and it may or may not result in a transaction, but certainly no certainty at this stage. So it remains a key part of our portfolio. It's a big business, 10 billion in revenue, 6 billion in assets. So we need to run it optimally for the benefit of shareholders and of staff and customers. And that's why we're restructuring it, is to really return it to the profitability and return levels of where it should be.
You also have touched on, more of KAP's businesses being export-facing. Let's talk about that dynamic. Global demand as well. We are seeing globally that it's just a difficult time from the macros. I'm wondering if that's at all fed into KAP's numbers, and if then export numbers could be more buoyant based on that dynamic.
Nolatondo, what we've realized is to be in a leadership position in South Africa, you need to be globally competitive, either to defend your market share domestically against imports or to be able to export competitively. So that's something that we've worked on over many years. PG Bison was actually able to grow its exports from 11% of its volume to 20% of its volume into a subdued macro globally, which really points to the competitiveness of that business. Unfortunately, in Safripol, it's more of a global commodity, the polymers, and it wasn't commercially viable to export during this period because of weak global margins. And as a result of that, we actually scaled back on some of our production capacity to match production levels with domestic demand.
I'm also keen to hear what a lower interest rate environment might do for KAP, if anything at all. It's something we're all anticipating for the second half of 2024, Gary, but of course the risks are still pretty high all around the world.
Sure. A reduction in interest rates will be very positive for us. As I said, we have elevated debt levels currently as a result of our capital projects, and we anticipate, as I said, those capital projects being completed in our second half, coming into production in the next year, generating cash and allowing us to de-gear. And the combination of reducing debt levels with reducing interest rates will obviously be very positive from an earnings perspective.
And with that said, looking at H2, just the outlook for you have mentioned that you're expecting quite a few projects to come online. And I think that's something investors are probably looking forward to.
Absolutely. So are we. They've been very large, long-term projects. So we're certainly looking forward to getting them up and running and putting the project element behind us and starting to focus on the commercial aspects. H2, we're seeing the macro remaining quite challenging, especially leading up to elections. However, we focused on our key drivers of market share gains, cost reduction, improved efficiencies, and then obviously a focus on the balance sheet, working capital, debt levels, and completion of our projects.
Fantastic, Gary. Looking forward to that conversation in a few months' time. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. And that was KAP CEO Gary Chaplin.